Hey Beanie. Oh, you're so cute. Why are you always so cute? You're probably the best cat in the whole world. There's literally no cat that is as good as you. Bindi loves to sleep on a shelf between things. She figured it out one day and she's like, you know what? That's my main chilling spot for the day. She gets a little beam of sunlight and she'll just sleep there all day long, won't you, Beanie? It's a weird day today. The studio's kind of messy and we're going to do something really nice for someone. How did that just happen? Anyway, that was really weird. Today's going to be a little bit of a vloggy day. I've got a little bit of a plan for what I'm going to do. So a little while ago, my buddy Jack had some computer problems. And instead of me fixing his PC, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to get some parts and I'm going to build you a whole new PC out of our stuff. And then I'll hang on to your parts and we'll figure out what's wrong with it eventually. So I did a little bit of that off camera and that whole thing never turned into a video because I didn't want to film. It was just doing something nice for a mate. And now Jack's brother needs a PC and he only plays games like League of Legends and Dota and that kind of stuff. So I was like, you know what? I figured out what was wrong with Jack's old parts, which is actually not that bad. It's a Ryzen 5 2600. So I'm going to build him a PC out of the stuff we harvested from Jack's PC. Does that make sense? So that's exactly what we're gonna do today. You know, just keep it vloggy, keep it easy. Let's take a look at some of the parts that I'll be using for this PC, because I've already sorted everything out. So let's take a look. I've got most of it laid out here, but we've got an Asus B450 Tough Plus Gaming. No Wi-Fi on this one. This is the Ryzen 5 2600 that Jack had in his machine before. It was just basically a really weird RAM problem that we were having. So I got rid of the RAM, 16 gigs of T-Force Delta at 3200 mega transfers. It's a decent enough kit. I've used this before. It's really stable. We did test the 3000 mega transfer kit on this board and we had a couple problems, but I think that kit was just beginning to show its age because we've used it quite a lot. This is a much newer kit. For storage, I've got a 256 gig XPG M.2 drive. I think it's the SX8200. It's a decent drive. And for the GPU, I'm going with this. I actually pulled this out of my brother's music production PC. You might have seen that video a couple of years ago. We upgraded that a little while ago, also off camera, and we're putting his old GPU in there in this machine, which is more than enough for Dota 2 and League of Legends and those kind of things. It's the GTX 1660 Ti. Other than that, we've got the SE224 XT cooler from ID Cooling. I decided just to go something a little bit better than the stock cooler. Well, I suppose it's better than the stock cooler. It'll be quieter, which is nice. So yeah, it's not going to be a blingy over the top fancy build, but you know, we've got to do what we've got to do. And lastly, the case. We've used this before. It's the Cougar MG140. Now you guys know that I loved this case. It's a really good, decently priced budget M-ATX case that comes fully loaded out with RGB fans, and I was like, you know what, let's just give him this because we used it maybe once or twice in a video and I will probably never use it again. Let's start putting this thing together. We're gonna start off with air cooler installation right now. There's always so much debate about stuff like the amount of thermal paste, and I'll show you the way that I would recommend installing thermal paste for AM4 CPUs. Such an awkward way for me to film this, but it's got to look decent for you guys. So like some kind of contortionist. And my body's like, why do you do this to me? I don't have a good answer, guys. Here's what I'll recommend on Ryzen. You see the little Z in the middle of Ryzen, which you actually can't see from this shot, but basically just aim for the Z and put just about a P dot size. I'm going to put a little bit more than a P dot just for aesthetic purposes, because remember, too much is fine. Too little is bad. Look at that. That is the biggest poop emoji. That's worse than a poop emoji. That's like a diarrhea emoji. See, even that, even if it's too much, that is fine because it's going to spread all over the joint. Here's something that I do personally that people may or may not agree with. First thing you want to do is make sure the sticker's taken off. I haven't done that ever before. And lower it on, and as you lower it on, right, give it a little bit of a wiggle to, you know, spread the thermal paste a little bit, right? Look at that. Beautiful. But don't tighten it up all the way because you'll get yourself into trouble because you won't actually be able to tighten it up. Make sure everything's lined up. Remember, this is really awkward to film from this angle. Whiz up the other side again. Hey. whiz her up, mate. Get her tight enough, and we're good to go. Now we'll just clip the fan on, and there you go. And then I like to kind of route the power cables for the fans kind of underneath the bracket so it holds it, so we can get some nice cable management going. And I'll just plug that straight into the CPU fan header because this is an ASUS board. It will probably complain about it, and we can just kind of tuck that cable up nicely. M.2 time. If you've never seen an M.2 drive installed before, slot her in, drop her in, and put a screw in it. This drive here in particular is a Gen 3 drive. Most do not require a heatsink. The NAND flash modules actually need to run at an optimal temperature, and some of them just do not require heatsink. So this one in particular does not. It did have a sticker on it that did not act as a heatsink, but yes, just thought I'd clear that up. Last but not least is the RAM modules. We're putting 16 gigs of DDR4 in this bad boy. We're gonna just technically third slot. You count from the right, not from the left, and then in the first slot like that. And just apply pressure to both ends of the module. Look at that. Bob is your proverbial uncle, and maybe Janet is your auntie. I don't know. Isn't building PCs fun, Claire? Isn't it just so exciting? Except for when I need to pull the side panel off on video. And I'm like, haha, you can't do anything because you're a loser. What's this thing, Claire?
That's a razor.
Oh, yes, it is a razor. To cut yourself. It's in. All right. Ah! In goes the motherboard. Here we go. This is going to be a bit tricky to maneuver. There's a little bit of an off-camera squabble with Claire getting the motherboard in. Huh? Better tell them the truth. Most people will say, hey, why don't you lay the computer down to put it in? It actually makes no difference. If you've built as many PCs as we have here over on the Wee Old Gear Seekers, it doesn't matter. You just get it done. All right, time to drop in that power supply. I skipped over most of the internal case cable management stuff because I didn't think it would be that exciting. You guys have probably seen it a million times in our videos. We're getting there, ladies and gents. There's not a lot to do with this build, actually. Air-cooled builds sometimes are a bit nicer for us to film because there's just less to do. I don't have to worry so much about fans. They usually plug straight into the motherboard. Lastly, we're gonna pop in that GPU, the 1660 Ti. Straightforward process, just basically line it up at the slot, use a little bit of force, click it into place. You know what I was about to say next. The old Bob's your uncle. We'll plug in these extensions that I put in just to make the PC look a little bit nicer. Black and white extensions go with every single color scheme. And that's basically done. All I need to do now is do a bit of cable management on the backside. I'll just whiz that around so you guys can see. I actually did most of it off camera. I'm just gonna plug in the fans and route the cables a bit nicer. Plug in that PCIe power connector for the GPU, and I think we're just about done with this build. And that's it. You can chuck the panels back on, and we should be good to go. All right, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed this build with me video. I love making these videos because I get to hang out with you guys while I put together a PC. And for these PCs that have a purpose to help someone out, I also like to do them as well because good karma is best karma, right? Now, there's a few things that I did with the build that I didn't talk about. One of them is I didn't put any fans in the top of the case. I felt as though with this configuration, it's not really going to be a hot system, so it doesn't really need that additional exhaust at the top. And at the right fan curves, it's going to be just about perfect. And that's mainly the only thing that I've got to add about this system. It was very easy to build. I had no troubles with it. As usual with this case, it is a dream to build in, and yeah, it's just a really good price for what it is as well. I'll put a PC part picker list down below in the description if you want to see what all the parts were that went into this system. And I'm done. If you enjoyed the music and you want to listen to it not in the video, you can click that join button down below. It's somewhere down there. And if you're not subscribed yet, get yourself subscribed by clicking the subscription button. And then next to that, there's a bell. You can ring that bell to get all notifications for when we upload next. Once again, thank you so very much for watching. I'm your boy Nick with Gear Seekers. You peek, we seek. I like repurposing hardware for people.
it's a good thing to do. If you have spare hardware and you have friends who don't have a PC, do yourself a favor, put some good karma out into the world and build them something cool. Thanks for watching. Ryzen CPUs kind of make it easy for thermal paste application actually. Just look at the Z in Ryzen and that's where you put your thermal paste essentially. P.dot size for these CPUs is fine. I'm just gonna do a little bit more because remember, a little bit more is fine and I kind of want to make it look nice too. Look at that aesthetic. Put the rest of the stuff on the end of the... Here we go, we just drop the cooler in. Now what I usually do, and not everyone will agree with me here, but when I place it on, I should take the sticker off first.
Oh no.
No, I need to do that all again.